So in this video, I'll break down the exact internal research stack that we use to understand B2B audiences before we write even a single word. It's the same system behind seven-figure campaigns, and you'll see every layer. We've helped build B2B campaigns that led to thousands of qualified leads and 5, 6, and even seven-figure deals. But if I had to point out the one thing that's most valuable, it wouldn't be a campaign. It's the process that we use before we write even a single word. Because the truth is, most marketing doesn't fail because of bad copy or bad ads. It fails because people skip the part where you actually have to think. We've honestly seen it time and time again across B2B teams like private equity, SaaS, agencies, and even manufacturers. But with campaigns that sound good, but just don't convert, sequences that get opens but no replies, or ad copy that sounds really clever but just doesn't connect with the audience. It's almost always the same root cause. They skip the work of deeply understanding the buyer. So we built a system to fix that, one that actually forces you to find clarity before you ever touch a sequence or start writing your copy. And if you're running any kind of B2B marketing or sales motion, it's a system you can literally adapt and use to make your messaging actually resonate. So we call it the buyer clarity stack. It's 5 simple layers, but each one solves a core problem that most teams will ignore. Right, so this is the buyer clarity stack. As you can see, it's 5 steps. The first step is actually sitting down and thinking about who are your actual persona, like who is your actual persona, who do you actually want to reach out to, what are your actual best clients and what do they care about from your perspective. We do that for our clients by having all of these questions in an onboarding form, and with that onboarding form actually asking these questions and forcing our clients to actually think deeper about their clients and what they care about and really describe it into detail. If you are doing this for yourself, what I did is I went for a walk, then I looked through all of these questions. I've gathered them for you as well in a Google Docs that I'll link below, but going through all of these questions and essentially just using the transcription function in ChatGPT and just talking to ChatGPT and trying to answer all of these questions to the best of my knowledge. What we're trying to get out of this stage is not like getting all of the research and all of that. It's getting your perspective, everything that you know from all of your experience, and gathering that into one document. So with this, we ask questions that will actually force you to think. So questions like, what do your best clients have in common? What were they doing before they started working with you? What objections do they raise and how do you overcome them? What do they appreciate after buying that they didn't actually expect? And these are questions that you can't answer them well without actually sitting down and thinking, or going for a walk and thinking about these things. So if you're not doing this already, what I recommend is start doing it. Use like any sort of software. There's like hundreds of them out there. Then move on to this step, because this is an extremely important step of actually feeding AI actual data that you have from actually talking to these people. The other thing is try to do it from people that actually come from like the channel or like a cold channel, because it's going to be drastically different conversations that you have with potential clients that came from a referral or came from inbound or whatever it might be. Typically, there's not that much sales and there's not that much like challenging and that much like discussion on those calls. So what we want are the ones that come from, for example, cold outbound or come from Facebook ads. So whatever it might be, where they don't necessarily have that much context about what you do and who you are. So you have to have that conversation on the call and actually figure out what do they care about and all of these things, because that's really what we're trying, like that's what we want to get out of this, and then get the real voice of customers. So what you can do this, for example, taking all of the reviews, that's what we do, taking all of the reviews that you have on Trustpilot or Google or wherever you might be getting reviews, taking all of those, because those are typically written in like your customers' actual language. So how they would describe it, because it's extremely important that we actually describe this with their language and not, our language. It has to be described in a way where it resonates with them. And if we use all of the words that marketing folks typically use, that might not actually be how they would describe it and the words that they would use to describe it. So the next step is doing a strategy call. So if you're doing this for yourself, then I would recommend go on with someone from your team, someone that you know will actually challenge you on your assumptions, and then go through the onboarding form that you filled out. So all of these questions that you filled out in step 1, have them talk through all of these things, talk through all of them and have them challenge you as much as possible on potential assumptions that you might be making, or in general things that you might be thinking without actually having thought, why is this your perspective? So how we do that with our clients is we'll hop on the onboarding call where we just talk through all of these things with our clients, and we actually challenge them on their assumptions. Because sometimes, you'll have assumptions or you'll have a perspective that is not actually true, or is not actually the best information that we can use to actually go out and build campaigns that convert into the right clients and not just clients, or into the right leads. So to do that, we have to actually challenge assumptions. We try to clarify nuances. We try to spot any contradictions that there might be. And this will unlock a lot of new angles and better positioning, and overall just a better audience or message market fit. And then what we do at the end of the call, if you're doing this for yourself, this doesn't really make sense, but what we do at the end of the call is stay on the call when the client's left, and then we'll talk through internally everything that we just discussed with the client and our initial ideas for campaigns or angles from that. The reason that we do that is we also record that entire onboarding meeting, so we get that into that transcript as well, which will make sense when you see the next steps. So step 4 is our AI research stack, which is really what takes all of this information, does additional research, and actually formats it in something that we can use to then get specific angles or use to actually brainstorm and write campaigns. So what this AI research stack looks like is there's 6 different ChatGPT custom built agents, each with a very specific prompt that will dive into 6 different things. So the first thing that it will dive into is a buyer analysis based on Reddit threads. So Reddit is typically a pretty good place to actually do research on the language and the words that your potential clients or your audience actually use, not just what you think, and get all of that information to have that basis. Only doing it off Reddit will sometimes leave you with will sometimes not be 100% accurate. So that's just the first step. Then the next step is based on the onboarding transcript. So the strategy call transcripts based on the sales call transcripts and the reviews and the entire onboarding form that you filled out all of these questions. Then we feed that into this AI agent that will then look into the specific buyer psychology and decision triggers. So what this actually looks like is, this is the first prompt. You can read through this. I'm not going to read through the entire thing, but it's essentially just prompted to take all of the information that you feed it and then do additional research and do try to challenge any contradictions that there might be within that, and then output a very in-depth description of the ICP. So that's the first step here. Then the next one dives deep with the Reddit. This is the prompt for that. And the next one will then take all of the information that we got from the onboarding meeting and the onboarding form that the client filled out and use all of that to make a more thorough presentation and analysis of the offer and the positioning offer and brand. So this is as well prompted to actually try to spot contradictions, try to spot things where you might be making assumptions or where there might actually be an opportunity to do something different. So then the output format is an offer summary, then the actual differentiators, what actually makes these guys different, or what you do different from everybody else in the industry. Then a few strategic angles and positioning archetypes. Then the next GPT goes in and analyzes further on the messaging and language that this audience uses. And again, this is based on the testimonials and sales language and customer quotes, and then it does further research into that. Then it goes into more the psychology behind it, so the motivational triggers, analyzes that so that we get like the triggers and the core motivators, because this is typically very good to actually build different angles around. A lot of what it outputs aren't going to be something that you would use, but when you read through this, it's going to give you a better understanding of your actual audience, and it's going to be much easier to actually sit down and write the campaigns, write the scripts, or write the cold emails, or whatever you're doing, because you have all of this information up front. And then the last one is, in this case, just prompted to like come up with 5 cold email ideas, because we use this for outbound. You could tweak this if you want 5 script ideas or whatever it might be. These, again, we don't use exactly these, but it gives you just a good foundation to go in and make tweaks or like do this, use this, because that will give you other ideas. And it's much easier to actually sit down and write all of this, instead of like when you have all of this research up front, instead of sitting down in a blank Google Doc and then you have to actually write something. Then gathers all of this in one Google Doc that we then in step 5 will sit down, me and our copywriter, let's build and actually talk through all of these things. So the way that we do it is we go through it each in silence first. So read through the entire things, and then we make comments in that doc with like specific ideas that we get from that, or if this is a good thing, then just make a comment. And then what we do, typically that takes around an hour. And what we then do is we talk through all of our ideas, write that into like the actual campaigns and the angles that we want to use. And then we sit down and then actually write out the scripts. And this makes it so much easier and so much more accurate. And this gives you such a good foundation to also build on. And then we use that to write emails that actually resonate with who we're reaching out to, because we've done the research up front and we know what they care about and how they speak. So at this point, we haven't even written a single line of copy yet, but the strategy is clearly forming. So from that session, we draft campaigns, but we're not writing from a blank doc. We're writing from actual understanding, because we've done our homework. And that's why the copy lands. It's not creative writing, it's strategic translation. Most B2B marketing is like shouting across a crowded room, trying to get attention through volume or like sounding clever. But when you've actually done the work, you're not shouting. It's like blowing a dog whistle where 99% of people won't ever hear it, but the one person who should hear it can't not hear it. And that's how we make our cold emails feel personal, even at scale. So this system is the reason that our cold email campaigns have generated more than $20 million in revenue, and why we've booked more than 2,000 qualified meetings for our clients, and why our reply rates are consistently above industry averages. It's not magic, it's just thinking and doing research before you actually start writing. So if you're serious about improving your cold outreach, or honestly any B2B marketing, then this kind of thinking is really what makes the difference. If you want the exact AI prompts and process I use, then drop input in the comments, and then I'll send over the full stack so that you can do this yourself without having to build the entire automation.